Hi, I'm Annapolis Mayor Josh Cohen with your weekly video update for Monday, August 2nd, 2010. And in this update, I want to talk about the line of credit and the budget and the cash flow crisis. And I want to start by distinguishing between a budget crisis and a cash flow crisis, because they're related issues, but they're two separate things. A budget crisis is what I faced when I took office last year. The city's fiscal year 2010 budget, which ended this past June 30th, was a budget in which the city was on pace to spend over $86 million. The city was on pace to bring in $75 million in revenue. So even in the middle of the year, upon taking office, due to a variety of reasons that I've discussed during previous updates, the city had a budget crisis. It had a huge budget deficit. The city council, during this past budget process over the past several months, took significant steps to right-size our budget and make sure we have a balanced budget for fiscal year 2011, which began this past July 1, and we do. We had to reduce spending by over $11 million. It was a 13% cut in our budget, which for a local government is almost unheard of. And just to put it in perspective, even though every government around this state is in difficult times right now, and some are cutting and some are raising taxes and some are doing both, no city government, none of the 157 municipalities in Maryland had to cut 13% like Annapolis did. That is how out of whack our budget was, and that's why it was such a challenging budget process. But this city council did what needed to be done to make us financially sustainable moving forward. So we are no longer in a budget crisis moving forward. We do have a cash flow crisis, and the reason for that is the city does not get revenues in advance of our expenditures. Our expenditures are relatively constant. Our monthly payroll was about $4 million every month. Due to the cuts we've made, we've reduced that to about $3.25 million. But those are expenses that the city incurs every 2 weeks. We have to keep the lights on, we have to put gas in the cars, we have to pay vendors, but the city gets revenue in spurts. And our biggest revenue source is property tax revenue, and we get that in two big spurts. The first is in the middle of October, and then the second is in January. So every year, every city has a cash flow crunch as it ends the fiscal year in May and June, and then as it starts the next fiscal year, July, August, and September, until it gets the first big hit of property tax revenue in October. Normally, it's not a big problem because the city should have, and normally does have, cash in our cash reserve funds. And larger jurisdictions like Anne Arundel County, for example, has gobs of money set aside in different funds, in insurance funds and reserve funds that it is able to draw from in anticipation of getting in its revenues. The city, unfortunately, had a double whammy where not only did we have a budget crisis coming into this year, but we also have a cash flow crisis. And that's why I needed to ask the city council to increase our debt limit, allow the city to take out another $6 million in the line of credit. It is to provide a temporary bridge loan to cover the cash flow. It is not a loan to cover our annualized operating expenses. We have the revenue sources coming in to cover our annualized operating expenses. And I want to make that very clear because I, like everybody, feels that government needs to live within its means. And there's a lot of frustration about spending at the state and federal level all across this country. It's a very different situation than what the city is in now because we have brought our expenses into alignment with our revenues. Now, where I fault myself and what I take responsibility for is that 7 or 8 weeks ago, when the city council increased the debt limit from $3 million to $10 million, the city did not accurately forecast our cash flow needs, which should not have been a difficult problem. It should not have been difficult enough that just 2 months later, we have this emergency where we're looking at possibly running out of cash just a couple months from now. These are not difficult numbers, or they should not be difficult numbers. And frankly, I do not have the confidence I need in the projections coming out of our finance department. So I want to share things that I'm going to be doing differently moving forward. First of all, we have a new acting city manager, Mike Malinoff. He has been in the office only 3 weeks now, confronted with a whole host of challenges, but he is already meeting with department heads, and one of his main focuses is reviewing the budgeted revenues and expenses within each department so that we can have a confidence level that the budget that the City Council passed is indeed accurate and based on accurate numbers. Number two, the City Council recently created and appointed members to a financial advisory commission, which includes 7 really top-notch financial experts in both the private sector and public sector. And I'm going to be tasking them with reviewing a lot of the city's financial reports. We have several outside audits, cash flow statements, as well as management studies, and I want their feedback and recommendations as far as certainly any errors, but also any specific actions we need moving forward. So there are a lot of changes, both short-term and long-term, that are going to happen that we need to do in order for all of us to have some more confidence in the quality of the financial information we're getting. As always, you can reach me by calling 410-263-7997. You can email mayor@annapolis.gov, and you can read my blog, mayorcohen.com, and leave a comment. Thank you for watching.